All right, let's lean in a little bit, shall we? Shall we? Are you with me here? How are you at doing your best every day? You're going to say to me, Of course, I'm doing my best. I'm always doing my best. What's the point if I'm not doing my best? But I really want you to pay attention to this because over the course of our lifetime, you and I will come across millions and millions of people who do really good work. Okay. And every now and then we find someone who does work that's incredible, like far superior than anybody else's work. Okay. Okay. Someone whose work is really amazing, you're never going to forget it. You're going to refer people to them. You're going to be talking about them 20 years later. They're never forgotten. How do they do that? What causes these people, this relatively few people, to do work that is extraordinary? Okay? Is this your kind of work? Are you the one? Are you doing things every day that in 20 years from now, 200 years from now, people are going to be still talking about? Okay? Because the answer might surprise you. Because while these people share many of the same positive characteristics, in most cases, the people who are doing this like crazy, awesome, outstanding work weren't born with the traits that produce their the their efforts. It didn't come to them in an innate way. Instead, they chose to develop them. They chose. And so why did they do this? Because at some point in their lives, these people decided that they wanted to live the best their best life possible. They made a decision. And they knew to accomplish that, they had to do work that pursued their purpose, their dreams, their goals. They knew it. They knew that the moment they did work that they settled with, they lost. They felt it. So this is really interesting. So this is a big question for you. Does it already make you think of now when I ask, like, are you doing your best? Does it make you think a little bit differently? Do you think the work you're doing this year is going to be recognized and admired, still serving people, still making a difference in this world in centuries from now? Okay, most people, if they answered this question honestly, they'd have to admit that their work probably won't go past the next year, 5 years. They're literally doing. I guys, I remember this. I remember literally looking at my work and going like, once this accreditation's done or once this project's done, like this is done and nobody's ever going to look at it again. Like I remember thinking that, knowing that in my gut, right? And it really made me what made me think of this question. I was studying with my mentor Bob Proctor, and he had this really interesting moment where he was talking about going to a museum in Amsterdam. And he was looking at one of the masterpieces there. It was one of Rembrandt's masterpieces called Night Watch. Okay. And Rembrandt painted Night Watch back in like the 1600s. Okay. At least that was what Bob had said. I haven't actually looked it up. I'm believing him. Okay. So although I'm not an art critic, this is really interesting to me that we're still looking at paintings from the 1600s. Okay? We all are just taking it in. We begin to think of how long ago he painted this picture and that the world still enjoys his efforts. Okay, it's estimated that Rembrandt invested 1 year of his life into one single painting, a whole year into creating this. I seriously doubt that each day he picked up his paintbrush and got his paint clothes on, mixed the paint up, and he was telling himself that this painting must be such great quality that it'll be enjoyed for centuries. He probably didn't say that, but he showed up and he did it anyways. Okay. And as you look at his painting, it's really, really obvious that Rembrandt gave the best that he could give during that year when he was in creation mode. So, this is your question. Is that what you're going to be able to say? That your work that you're doing now, that it's going to have that a level of impact in 300-400 years, even 50 years from now? Do you even care? You should care, because every day we're trading our time, our energies for something. If you do care, you'll love, there's a quote by Robert Russell who said, "There's no secret to becoming great or doing great work. You simply do little things in a great way every day." Because I can guarantee the moment I gave that Rembrandt story, you were like, "Well, I don't paint. What do I have to offer?" Right? Your paradigm just like snuck right in. But in order to get that same impact, it's about doing little things in a great way every day. In Think and Grow Rich, in the chapter on organized planning, he calls it your QQS rating. So, QQS formula, it means your quality plus your quantity plus the proper spirit of cooperation that you give to each habit, each thing that you do. The quality, the quantity, and the spirit. And again, that's the chapter of organized planning, which is chapter 7. Okay, guys, I'm going to keep referring to this book. So get yourself a copy. And you might kind of laugh at this idea, but if you give your best today, it might make a significant difference decades, possibly even centuries from now. Right? Rembrandt probably would have laughed back in the 1600s to think of the impact that he's still having today, but he still gave his best. Does giving your best every day mean that you'll immediately and always succeed? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But what I can tell you, understanding these laws of the universe, because you and I live in a very orderly universe, is that your efforts will eventually pay in the end. I was reading Brene Brown, and she had that quote from Theodore Roosevelt at the beginning of her book, and it says, "The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, because there is not effort without error and shortcomings. He who does not actually strive to do the deed, who knows the great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself or herself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows triumph at the end, and who's at the worst fails while daring greatly. He knows his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Are you daring greatly? Are you devoted to something that's worthy of you? Okay, there are 3 things to do to really leave your mark. Okay, that's it. Okay, people who are focused on doing great work have 3 things in common. Okay, they're focused, they follow a systematic approach, and they have a sense of urgency with everything they do. Now, there's a difference between, so urgency meaning they're inspired. They don't sit on something and wait, right? And even if you look at the chapter on organized planning, and it talks about the 7 major attributes of those who don't succeed in their goals. And the number 1, I was just reading this. The number 1 is actually procrastination. Inability to organize details, unwillingness to render a humble service, expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with what they know, fear of competition from followers, lack of imagination, selfishness, intemperance, disloyalty, emphasis of the authority of leadership, emphasis of title. You live in that space, it's not going to work out. Okay? Have focus, have a systematic approach, and do it with a sense of urgency. But there's a difference between a sense of urgency and rushing through from activity to activity. And I used to do this all the time. I still catch myself. It's such a habit. Every once in a while, I'll be like, wait a sec. And you'll know you're doing it because it doesn't feel good. Okay, when you're just like rushing and trying to tackle everything, or you're being tackled by random, what seems like urgent things. I used to come home from work sometimes and my husband would go, "How was work?" And I would say, "I was a firefighter today. I was a firefighter. I just put out fires." Not an actual firefighter, guys. Just like, now I look back on it and I go, oh my gosh. I was just constant hurry, panic, right? And hurry and panic, these are mental states that anybody will experience whenever they have a lot to do and have no systematic approach to getting any of it done. They just have a list. And then the next day they develop a new list. And then by the end of the day, as long as they've gone check, 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 that's not a systematic approach, because that's going to keep you on the hamster wheel. Typically, you're doing the same thing every day and nothing's actually moving you forward. Right? People who are doing great work do a huge amount of work in a small amount of time. Each day they focus on doing activities that count. And when I say they count, I mean that they are moving them towards their goal, not versus keeping them stuck. Okay? Remember, stuck is comfortable. You're like, I get up, I brush my teeth, I eat from a box, I go to work, drive home, I take my kids here, I blah, 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 blah. Right? You want to make sure you're doing something every single day that's moving you forward. Not and moving forward is not comfortable. That's how you know it's the right move. Okay? Focus on doing activities that count by making a list of projects to complete. Okay? Because then your sense of urgency automatically detects those projects that are goal oriented, that call for immediate action. Okay? They immediately act on those projects to successful completion. I'm going to give you some tips on how to do this. Okay? People who act with a sense of urgency aren't just busy for busy sake, for the sake of busyness. They're effective because they have a tremendous amount of focus when it comes to goal oriented things that they're supposed to be doing that need to get done. What's on your list? What are you committed to? Because this will impact your QQS rating. This will impact how you do it. Because if it's not on purpose, if it's not meeting your purpose, your goals, you're going to show up in a different energy to do it. Realize that the greatness you develop and the sense of urgency you operate with will always be in direct proportion to your commitment to your results, personally and professionally. How committed are you to getting your goal, to getting the results that you want? Right? Becoming great at anything calls for you to keep going even when things get difficult. Your commitment has to be strong. And your energy cannot be wasted. It has to be focused. If you're not focused, if you're squirreling out all the time, this is your paradigm. It's habit. And you can change that. You will find, if you haven't already, that the length of time it takes you to form the habit of urgent daily action will depend on your degree of commitment to your goal. This is why I always say you got to have a goal that you're focused on. So many people are saying out there that they want. Everybody says they want something. I talk to people about goals all day, every day. Okay, and some will believe that it truly can happen for them. Some don't. Again, you can correct that too. Some are like, "Yep, I can have that." Few of them, though, will begin to actually take action towards getting that goal. Fewer still will lay out a systematic plan involving multiple steps that will then get them to that goal. And even fewer will manage to stay on track with that sense of urgency as they move through the steps towards their goal. Take a good look at yourself. Which group do you fall into when it comes to your goals? Are you like gung ho and then fall into the even fewer still that manage not to take action? Are you committed to giving your work, your goals, your life, your best effort? Some of the tips that I would really strongly recommend for getting focused and creating order and obtaining that systematic approach, okay? What I personally do is I book nothing on Sundays. Sundays are like a spiritual tune up day, right? Just all in on myself, okay? But I do one thing. I create a list of 6 things that I will get done. And on Sunday, I have Monday's list done and part of Tuesday's. Okay. I have 6 things. I've taken my goal and I've broken it down into mini goals. And then I've taken those mini goals and I've broken them down into things that I need to do to get there. Income producing activities. Okay. On this list, you're not going to have habits, right? Eating, meditating, studying, breathing. These are things that practicing gratitude. These are things that I just do. They're not on my 6 list. Okay. Or else I'd have like 6 things done before 7 a.m. I need those just to live my best life. Even working out, not on my list of 6 things. Okay. Those are my habits that I'm forming. And I'm always going to have, health goals and relationship goals. But the key here is you are going to have 6 very specific so that at the end of the day, you can say, yes, I did that. So they're measurable. And you're going to start at number 1 until it's done. You do not move on to number 2 unless number 1 is done. Sometimes you're going to get through 3 in a day. Some days you're going to crush all 6 in like 2 hours. And that's okay. This is where it gets to start being really easy. And like I said, to get your 6 things, you take your goal, you break it down, and you always got to like project manage your mini goals. If you need to go and read the chapter on organized planning and Think and Grow Rich, do that. Okay? Even at the end of Think and Grow Rich, there's 28 questions. You can take a personal inventory on what it looks like for you. I love to take this inventory. Self-analysis questionnaire. Number 1, have I attained the goal that I established as my objective this year? Number 2, have I delivered service of the best possible quality, which I am capable, or could I have improved any part of my service? Take this inventory. Face yourself squarely. Okay, every day, do something. Do something on the list, or you can batch them together. Okay, so batching is a really effective way to get yourself organized too. Keeps the brain on track, helps you flow, helps with focus. You'll take inspired action. Okay, so batching just means, so say my goal is to grow my business, and my sub goals might be, social media presence and a website. Okay, well, breaking down a website, what are things I need to do? Okay, I need to find a provider. What's my website going to be? All the things that go with creating a website. Okay, so maybe every day, 2 of my things have to do with my website. Or maybe all 6 things on Monday are doing with my website. Probably part of Tuesday as well. But you know what? By the end of Tuesday, it might be done. Instead of like sitting there, and you can't put thinking about my website. That doesn't count. They have to be action items. And when I say income producing, I mean they might not make you money right now, but they're leading to it. Guys, you have to think either way, you're spending your days doing something. Even if you're like, I'm like, oh, what'd you do last night? Oh, I binge watched Netflix. Okay, well, that's still something. How many people do you know that are just sitting there binge watching Netflix or get stuck in the scroll hole for eight hours a day? Our world is designed for distraction, but it's not moving you forward. And if you don't feel stuck now, I promise you keep that up, you will. You are doing things every day. You may as well be doing things that are going to move you forward. And when you do, you'll prevent yourself from getting stuck. You'll be inspired. And eventually you're going to get whatever it is you want your goal to be. By law, any seed that is planted must come to fruition. We don't know the gestational period of non physical seeds, but as long as it is watered and nurtured, it must grow by law. So, again, I talk to people all the time and they're like, I hate the job that I have, but I need to do it. Okay, well, you need to do it, but then how can you start planting seeds for something different? How can you start planting seeds for something different so that in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, whatever it is that you've planned out, you have something different. I talk to people, "Oh, I don't have money for that." Okay, well, what's your game plan to get more money? Money is everywhere. You just need to provide service. Well, I don't have a plan for that. Get a plan. And when you execute the plan, do your best work. Give the best quality and quantity. There's no such thing as getting something for nothing, ever. You deserve the best. And as humans, we are here to serve one another. You just want to nail down focus, systematic approach with a sense of urgency. You're not doing today's work that should have been done 2 years ago. Get it done. Because the longer you procrastinate, the more you'll just make up reasons on why you need to. What will really help with that is getting yourself into an environment that is conducive to the unfoldment of your goal. If you're hanging out with other people that are stuck in their own paradigms and they're going to help you make excuses on why you don't need to do stuff, that's not helpful. Come join us in the High Vibe Society. We will hold you accountable. We get shit done. But those are your 3 things you want to focus on. Thank you guys so much for joining me. You guys are incredible. I appreciate you so much. And I hope that you got some